Good evening and welcome to the Foxborough Conservation Commission's meeting of January 25th, 2021. The meeting will be recorded and televised on Foxborough Cable Access and streamed on Foxborough Cable Live. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, the Governor's November 2020 order imposing a limitation on the number of people that may gather indoors. Parties in interest wishing to provide input on a matter on this agenda are recommended to do so via remote participation at the Zoom link below. And I'm not going to read it. Everybody's on. So welcome to conservation meeting. And at this time, do we have any public comments?
When would be an appropriate time in the meeting for me to ask about 45 Fairway Lane?
Probably now, because it's not on the agenda, and this is the open meeting, public comments period.
Okay, I have a question just for my own clarification on the limit of clearing for 45 Fairway Lane. The fences that are on the property, that does not designate the limit, the extent of the clearing that's possible. Am I correct on that? That's about placement of machinery and items that can be put on the land as part of the construction. I wanted to see if I was correct on that.
I'm not sure exactly. I was without a plan. I did see the, you're talking about the nylon or plastic fencing.
It's orange. Yeah, it's orange.
Yeah. Okay. Jane's stuck her hand up. She's got a comment on that.
Yeah, I was out there for the site visit that discussing where the limit of clearing fencing would go or limit of work fencing. So if there's orange, if you're talking about orange construction fencing, that's the limit of clearing that's approved.
That's the limit of clearing with the final plan on 12/14/2018?
Yes, should be. It was what we reviewed. I told them not to do any additional work than what was approved in the order of conditions plan, no additional work within 100 feet.
Okay, no additional work within 100 feet of that?
Yes.
Of what? Of the
delineated wetland.
Of the delineated wetland. Okay, I'll take another look at the fencing from my upstairs window. Okay. That just seems closer than I recall from the plan. The plan was pretty tight about where the actual clearing was. It seems like the fenced area is broader than that, but I'll take another look.
Yeah, please do, and let me know.
And then what is the timing for the concrete posts for the wetland boundaries on the property? When during the construction will those be put up?
I don't recall. You have a copy of the order of conditions, I assume?
Yeah, I don't think that spells out when they have to be put in. So that's hence my
guess question. It's probably going to have to be before they are issued a certificate of compliance or a partial.
Okay.
If it's not spelled out.
Okay. Bob, did you happen to see the property this weekend or?
Yes, I did. I went out, but unfortunately I did not have a set of plans with me. So it appears to be there's a lot of clearing, probably a little bit more than I envisioned at the beginning. But again, I didn't have the plans with me, and it's kind of hard to visualize without the plans. So I will get a set of plans and go back, revisit this week. Maybe I can get together with Jane after this and we can go out together.
Okay, those were my main questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eric. At this time, we have a notice of intent. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetland Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, The Conservation Commission will open a public hearing on Monday, January 25th, 2021. What is that? At 7:05 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room. Well, it's via Zoom. For a notice of intent filed by Salvatore and Gretchen Napoli for the construction of a pool, spa, paver patio, and associated landscaping at 14 Alice Bradley Lane. The application is available for public inspection in the Conservation Office at Town Hall. Mr. Leslie.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commission. Rich Leslie with Bay Colony Group, representing Salvatore and Gretchen Napoli. It is with regards to the notice of intent that we filed for construction of a pool, spa, paver patio, and associated landscaping. Quick overview of the lot. The locust parcel, it's situated on the westerly side of Alice Bradley Lane, and it's the very beginning front portion of the parcel is very steep till you get down to around the driveway next to the house. Then it levels out and gradually slopes down towards Neponset Reservoir. What we're proposing to do is to put in the pool, as you can see on the plan that we submitted, the pool, the paver patio, the spa. Total area for that work is about 2,145 square feet, of which 1,485 of it would lie within the 100-foot conservation restriction area that's also labeled on this plan. The lot does have, it has the 50-foot and the 100-foot conservation restrictions. That was part of the original definitive subdivision plan that was filed back in 1996 for Bradley Acres. So after the construction of the pool sit approximately 91 feet from the edge or the bank of Neponset Reservoir, and it will be a saltwater pool. In addition to that,
a quick question on those: are they? Do you have to backwash those, or are they self-contained? I always like if it's going to be backwashed, I want to know where that's going.
I honestly don't know because I'm not a pool guy. I just knew that there was going to be a saltwater pool. I didn't ask about backwashing if it needs to be. I'm sitting here with Sal Napoli right now, and maybe we can get an answer for you before we're done.
Okay, because I'm concerned about the, if it's backwashing, where the flow goes.
Let's see if Jared can get on the line.
Okay.
Okay, you can continue then.
Oh yeah, why don't you try it? So in addition to the pool, the patio.
I'm here, guys. This is Jared with Ivy Studio.
Jared, can you answer that question? The chairman asked us, we explained that it's a saltwater pool, and he asked us if it needs to be backwash or if it's self-contained.
It is self-contained. There'll be no automatic cover on the pool, but there will be a winter cover. That's the answer to the question. It isn't drained into a dry well or a subsurface system at all.
So when this is Peter Tanisoff, when the filter gets clogged or like after it, does its job and then needs to be cleaned, what is the procedure for cleaning the filter is what the chairman is asking.
There are filter boxes around the pool that are simply lifted out and just cleaned with a hose. But it's not a situation where you're discharging a large volume of water into a pit. I don't know if that's what he's implying, but that's not the situation.
You all set with that, Peter?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All
Can I get
right.
clarification?
Okay. Go ahead, Rich.
All right. So in addition to the proposed pool and spa and paver patio, we're also, if you look on the plan on the southerly boundary line, there's an area of its existing lawn that our client, when he bought the house, was there. He didn't put that lawn in, and that lawn is within the 50-foot conservation restriction area, which is not allowed. So what our client is going to do is working with Jane, we're going to restore that to a natural vegetation. That it's a 382 square foot area. We're also proposing to run the fence along the 50-foot conservation restriction area for a couple reasons. It'd actually be a foot inside that, because the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stake out the limits of it. Then we're going to have them put the erosion control barrier right there, so we know that nothing's going to go past that. And then the fence will actually go inside of that erosion control barrier by about a foot. So you'll have a wood fence. It's a 4-foot wood and wire fence. I had dropped off copies, or I sent them to Jane as far as what that fence would look like. That will go along the conservation restriction area. It will come down the southerly boundary line and then tie into the dwelling, the rear of the dwelling. On the northerly side, we're proposing a aluminum fence going basically from the house out to the northerly property line, which would gain access there with a gate as well. And then down the northerly property line, again, 1 foot inside, we're looking at putting a 6-foot wood fence. Now, in the last part of this project that we're going to talk about is they want a lawn expansion. Again, it's all over on that northerly side. It's between the 50-foot conservation restriction area and the 100-foot conservation restriction area, which by the conservation restriction document, you are allowed to have a lawn in that area. And it will go from the northerly property line in between the existing lawn and the 50-foot conservation restriction area. That will entail removal of about 7 trees that are in that area with, minor regrading. It's not a lot of grading that needs to be done there. We'll remove the shed that's existing there. That shed's going to be moved out. And with regards to removal of the trees, that's the plan. There's a plan shown done by Ivy Studio. It's the L-4.00 plan. It's 11 by 17. I believe you should all have it. And what's interesting or important to note about this plan is that where we are removing the trees, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees that are right there on the edge of that 50-foot conservation restriction. These 5 right here that are remaining. And it was purposely left so we made sure that we didn't disturb at all into the 50-foot conservation. So those 5 that are right there on the edge remain in place. And that's pretty much it. That sums up what we intend to do. If I went through too fast, anyone have any questions?
Any questions from the board? I visited this site and I understand what's going on, so I'll hold mine for a minute. Dave?
Oh, Dave has to unmute.
Dave, you have to unmute.
Oh, I see his
Nope.
technical guy back.
Okay. I'll switch down to Peter. Any questions? Or were you able to visit the site?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to visit the site. No. I mean, it sounds basically straightforward if they're staying outside of the, the restrictions. That pursuant.
The only part, Peter, that we're following straight through the conservation restriction document. It should also be noted that we walked this, the Sal and Gretchen and myself with Jane and Judy back in May 20th of 2020. So this has been a lot, 8 months worth of planning, going back and forth, working with the landscape architects and stuff, and how this was going to come together. The only part that's going inside of the conservation restriction area is when we run that fence down the northerly property line, there's about a 40-foot section of fence that it's on the Napoli's property, but will extend into that 50-foot conservation. And at that spot, that fence would be kept, as Jane specified, that will be 6 inches above the grade to allow for animals to pass under. And as far as going around that fence, the end of that fence is still going to be probably 90 to 100 feet from the edge of the reservoir. So there's plenty of room for animals to get around the fence. There's room for animals to get under the fence. And it's an important part of this project, as our client is trying to protect his property in that one area.
What is it being protected from?
It's a use protection, and he's trying to maintain some privacy over there.
Judy, you walked it. You have any questions?
He's muted too.
Okay.
I have one question. How large, Bob, is the pool? There's a square foot restriction on pools in the conservation restriction. Can't be over 200 square feet.
The pool is 20 by 40, which is a fairly typical size with approximately an 8 by 8 spa. Oh, that is 800 square feet.
Where did you see that restriction, Dave?
On page 2 of the restriction, within the 100-foot conservation restriction area, it says the things that can't be down or stored. However, swimming pools and structures no greater than 200 square feet, if approved by the Foxborough Conservation Commission, in accordance to the Wetlands Protection Act and or the Town of Foxborough Wetlands and Groundwater Protection Bylaw, are permitted. But it says no greater than 200. And also you got that large paved in area all around that pool. I don't know the groundwater protection bylaw, if they got restrictions on what can be, how much impervious area you're allowed.
Rich, are the pavers pervious or non-pervious?
Jared, can you answer that?
Right now, it's a Teco block paver. We haven't, I guess we haven't finalized a spec for it. Typically, this would be a precast concrete paver that's on a sand setting bed with a pervious gravel base. So that it would be a dry swept application where it would be set in sand. So there would be water infiltrating, permeating the joints.
Okay, so it's the water will flow through, not off then.
Correct, yes. It won't be a concrete slab underneath the pavers.
Okay.
But are the pavers themselves pervious, or is just the underneath?
In between.
Yeah, in between the joints. Like I said, we haven't finalized a spec on the specific paver, but it would be in between.
Okay.
Anything else from members of the commission? Jane?
I'm sorry, I came late to the meeting. I'm just reading this letter from the neighbors.
Okay, we'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
The neighbor is on, so he would like to, I'm sure, speak. But,
okay.
Jane, do you have any? You were out.
The conservation, yeah, I'm waving.
Yeah.
The conservation restriction, I was just looking at it, and it states, it's a good catch, David, but it does say, depends on how you construe this. However, swimming pools and structures no greater than 200 square feet. Doesn't say swimming, maybe. That was a good catch.
but does it say,
It says, comma, let's say, blah, blah, blah. However, comma, swimming pools and structures no greater than 200 square feet, comma, if
If
approved by the
approved.
Concom.
yeah, if approved, so we can still approve greater
It
than
says
200.
no greater than 200 square feet if approved.
Yeah, but I'm not, it is,
I missed that, Rich.
no, I've read this 100 times, and I'm not sure that it's, if these swim, it's, I think the way you read it it's swimming pools and structures no greater than 200. I don't think the 200 square feet applies to swimming pools. Reason being is when we had structures they have setback requirements if they were less than 200 square feet, i.e. sheds. They have a variance for, or they can get close 5 feet from the property line, which is where I think the structures came from. I don't know. I guess it's a little ambiguous.
They're glommed together, though. There's a comma before and a comma afterwards.
Yeah, but you can't have,
I mean, yeah, I read it as that's if you got swimming pools and structures, and that swimming pools is covered under the 200 square feet. Jim, what do you think?
Practically, how are you going to have a swimming pool that's 200 square feet? I mean, that just doesn't make sense. I would think you would need a comma after swimming pools, but
Rich, I will say, in the board, we manage about probably 10 to 15 swimming pool projects a year, spas, waterfalls, everything else. And the typical pools we're seeing are 20 by 40 for in-ground gunite or 18 by 40 in that ballpark. I mean, that's more like 800. So
right.
I don't see how that's a reasonable standard, the way it's written, if that's the interpretation, but.
I mean, this is the restriction on the property itself, not a town thing, so.
that's correct.
It's a conservation restriction on the property itself.
Right.
But it's very specific of what it states. And also there's on your plan, you increase the impervious area by 17 additional percentage. So I think we have to look at
No, we didn't. We increased the impervious by 3%, which would increase lot coverage by 3%.
Okay. So is there any restriction in the groundwater protection bylaw of the amount of impervious area in the conservation restrictions?
No.
Bob, I think we should check that just to make sure.
Well, yeah. Problem is, yeah. This could be just a typo, or, I'm reading it, swimming pools and structures no greater than, I don't know. I'm not a legal expert.
The restriction's probably only good for another 4 years anyways. Because this isn't a conservation restriction that runs in perpetuity, I don't believe. So a restriction, unless it's stated within,
yeah, it's
it will expire after 30 years. And it looks like it was April of 96.
No, it says
it's granted in perpetuity.
Is it?
Yep. Yep.
Third line, first page, Jim.
Yep.
I can send it if you want.
Yeah, no,
I have it in front of me.
It's in perpetuity.
Is it? Okay. Well,
I think that the size of the swimming pool can be, is very ambiguous. I see structures no greater than 200 square feet, but I don't think you could have a swimming pool and structure. Is it lumping the swimming pool and the structure at 200 feet?
That's the way it's written.
I don't think the grantor is intended for that. I just don't think that would be the case. I mean, 200 square feet is a tiny pool. I mean, what's the purpose of having a pool if it's only 200 square feet?
I guess the only question, I get what you're saying, and right, most in-ground pools are that way. I have no idea what the intent of the person, like when this covenant was put together, what their intent was. I mean, maybe they wanted it overly restrictive. I have zero idea.
I mean, it's, I think is the question that, okay, you can put 200 square feet of your pool in that space, and the rest of it's got to be outside the 100-foot restriction.
Well, that would be the case. We would look at moving that pool so that it's outside of the car. No more than 200 square feet of the pool would be inside that 100-foot conservation restriction. Go ahead, Jane.
Yeah, on page 1C, at the bottom of the page, says no use shall be made and no activity thereon shall be permitted, which in the reasonable opinion of the Conservation Commission is inconsistent with the intent of this grant, which is the preservation of the restricted land predominantly in its present natural condition and to act as a buffer for Neponset Reservoir and for purposes of water supply protection. So the intention of the deed is to keep the area within 50 feet especially, but also partially 100 feet in its current condition, which, as you know, is a lawn.
It's currently a lawn. And it's
perhaps not extending that lawn in that 100-foot area to make up for this size of this pool might be appropriate. You and I have talked about extending the lawn extensively. They could still put a fence up along the 50-foot, but perhaps extending the lawn might be considered as a swap. No, not extending it. Just my thoughts.
Yeah.
If it was pristine already, I'd say, yeah, but it's not. It's a lawn.
Yeah.
And the intention of the deed restriction is to preserve the area for water quality protection and for in its natural condition. It's not in a natural condition in the backyard.
Which is exactly what the 50-foot conservation, what is allowed in that, which is lawns are not allowed in that. And you are correct that, I mean, it is an existing lawn. It's been an existing lawn for, I don't know, since probably shortly after this, 1998 or something, around it was built.
Would they consider not extending the lawn?
So, do you want to talk?
Good. Yeah. Thank you everyone for hosting us, and I really appreciate everything you're doing. And part of what we wanted to do is, we have 3 young kids, is develop this pool, and whatever lawn we lose down, we wanted to gain up top, because I like to play football with the kids, wiffle ball. I'm ignorant of the different rules, and we want to be very respectful of the reservoir and what's needed for the reservoir. We would love if we could have the plan as is, just to be transparent, but we can talk more. But as you said, we've been working on this for about 8 months now, and I was happy to have members of the Conservation Commission come and review everything with us, and we want to respect everything that needs to be respected, because we love the reservoir and everything associated with it. But we are hopeful that we could have this as is. But I don't know if you want to discuss it more. But
I have a question. How about, I see the design, just kind of flipping the design, bringing the pool closer to the house and putting the patio around the other side of it. That would probably bring the pool, I'm following the 100-foot restriction area line, but that would bring the pool partially out of the 100-foot restriction. Just a thought.
Yeah, you're right. We could bring it closer and shift it northerly and get the bulk of it outside of that 100-foot conservation.
Just rearrange the pavers, maybe reduce the paver size a little bit, but if you needed the patio, you could put it either on the southerly side or the northern side, just to keep it out.
You're right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, Rich. One of the thoughts we had with this design when we laid out the deck and the pool was also just siting the pool on the most level area of the lawn. We could shift it northward a little bit. There is a grade change, which slopes up the side of the house to about the grade of the driveway there. So it would also require some additional retainage along that side of the house. Just something that, whether we did some terracing there, and I guess the preference would be to, of course, try to keep the pool as square to the house as possible. But, to maximize that patio area there. Just some thoughts.
Any
I have a
other?
question.
Yes.
Are the pavers pervious?
Yes.
Well,
Not exactly.
Well,
the pavers themselves, no.
but the cracks in between the pavers, so that there's no runoff from the pavers, that the water landing on them will sift down through the cracks. That's my understanding.
But like that's deceiving. Well, it depends on the design. Like I have that on our walkway right now. I can tell you the water sheets right off into our driveway because the pavers are fit very closely together. If you have high concentrations of rain coming down, it's for all intents and purposes going to act like an impervious surface. If it's a drizzle, yeah, it'll seep down and it'll get through. So it depends on the design of the pavers, I really believe.
The reason I ask is we're talking about the intent of the conservation restriction. If the intent of the conservation restriction is to help to preserve the water quality of the reservoir, then this particular pool is kind of in a little hole, and anything is going to go over the hill and down the other side into the reservoir. That said, extending the lawn beyond the crest of the hill and working the elevations as proposed might not be within that intent. So, I mean, if you had pervious pavers around the pool and then only extend your lawn up to the crest of the hill, seems to me that would comply with your intent, the intent of the restriction. I don't know what you think, Jim, but makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to go. I do.
Because they have worked and worked and worked at this,
Yeah.
and it has morphed quite a bit. But I think that changing over the pavers to pervious wouldn't be difficult, and it would suit them better too, because then it wouldn't all send water down into their walkout basement, cellar, whatever. And then there would be no water, runoff water from a lawn going over the slope, including fertilizer and such.
All right. So I was talking, Jane, while you were talking, I was talking with Sal at the same time. So and I understand what you're saying, you're 100% right in all of this. And that being the case, what is the feeling? If we give up on the lawn expansion, we don't do the lawn expansion, and we could make a note that the pavers have to be pervious pavers.
I'm just saying don't extend beyond the crest of the hill, because you go over the hill and then down the other side, and it looks like the grading is going to be changed a little bit or monkeyed with.
Even if we left the existing lawn as is on that plan and just don't touch that area.
Beyond the crest of the hill, you mean?
Yeah, well,
We won't do that. Yeah. Could we do that?
Leave it at the 284 line
Yeah, see where it says, see where it's, yeah, I see what you're saying, at the crest of the hill. So you want to pull it back?
Yeah, you and I have talked about this a little bit. I asked
Yeah.
how much of a disturbance would there be beyond that crest of the hill? Certainly the
Okay.
lawn could be extended towards the property line at the side as well.
Okay. All
So
right.
avoid the crest.
So I think with that being said, yeah, well, we're going to have to rework these plans, obviously, but let's go ahead and also address, are there any other issues? Is there any problem with the fence going down the northerly boundary line?
You're
Not
leaving
from us.
it, you're leaving 6 inches below it,
Correct.
and it's pretty much open and it's simply a boundary,
Correct.
correct?
40 out of 50. 40 out of 50 feet.
All right, I would like to, because that's part of the issue of your neighbor,
Yes,
is Mr. Ames.
that's fine.
Go.
Kind of like here.
Do you have
All right,
comments that you would like to make?
like up to you.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I would love to see Sal and Gretchen be able to do this pool. It sounds like a great project. My concerns are twofold. If you look at, his house sits on the most southern part of that property. And the way, unfortunately, the way these property lines run in Alice Bradley, they run at an angle. So my house is set up exactly the same way as Sal's. I face the same way. So where my house sits, I am also on the extreme southern part of the property line. If he puts this wooden structure in, it legit cuts, it looks like it cuts across my property. It doesn't, but that's how it's perceived. It will absolutely impact the property value of my house. And, you know, when you look at Christopher Stillback, who owned all this property way back when, and he took the time to come up with the conservation restriction, and then he did a declaration of protective covenants. His statement of intent, and I'll read this, he says, "It is the intent of these protective covenants to establish and preserve the natural vegetation, buildability of all lots, the architectural theme, aesthetics, harmony, quality, and value of the homes and land in Bradley Acres for the benefit of all lot owners." This is going to be great for Sal. He's going to sit on his deck and he's going to look out at the lake and his pool, and 100 yards to the right, or 50 yards, 60 yards to the right is going to be this 6-foot wooden fence that I'm going to have to look at every single day. So all I asked of from Sal was, would he change it to a aluminum fence like he's going to be putting in the front of his house, so that it blends in with the aesthetics of the woods, and change the angle slightly so that it almost is parallel to his house and my house, so it looks normal. And I don't think it should go down to past the point where it takes a left. It's the 50-foot conservation land buffer. It should just straight take a left and we're good. And then after that, I have no problem, but I am absolutely impacted if he puts up a 6-foot fence that has to be maintained that I have to look at every single day.
How big is that fence? You showed me pictures. It doesn't look like it is solid, and it doesn't look very tall.
So the pictures you have are of the aluminum fence and the wire mesh fence, that the post in the wire mesh fence go along the 50-foot conservation restriction easement. I didn't have a picture of it's a 6-foot wood fence. So that's how big it is. It's certainly allowed by building code to be 6 feet high. And he's also allowed, as a property owner, he's allowed to fence at his property lines.
50 feet.
So the one that you showed me with the fence posts and then the mesh between it, that was going to go extend down along the property line?
No, that's the one that goes along the 50-foot conservation restriction area, along the back, picks up from this wood fence on the northerly property line and runs all along their property, their backyard of their property, fencing off the 50-foot conservation restriction.
that faces the reservoir, Jane.
Oh, I know that, but I thought I understood that to be going down along the property line as well. Because he only showed me two different kinds of fencing.
Right, I didn't have it, I don't know, Jared, if you're still here, do you have a detail of a 6-foot wood fence that you could share?
It would just be a solid cedar fence, solid board. So you wouldn't.
Oh, I
be
wasn't
able to
aware of
see-
that.
You wouldn't be able to see through it, but it would be 6 feet high. I don't have a picture offhand, but
I would invite you guys to come back and just, from my point of view, see what it is that I have to look at. Like, it's one thing to stand on Sal's property and envision how beautiful this is going to be. If you sat on my deck and you pictured yourself up cooking burgers, looking out at this fence that's cutting diagonally across your property, you'd be furious, every single one of you. So I encourage you to come and in the spirit of the declaration of these protective covenants, understand what Stillbeck was trying to do. He's trying to prevent people from putting up these meaningless fences that are going to run all the way down to the water. I have deer in my backyard all the time. I just don't get why this needs to be done.
Okay, well, number one, it doesn't go all the way to the water. There's a gap between the end of the fence and the water line.
Bob,
But,
if you want to come down and look at what I'm looking
yeah.
at, you'll be like, this is crazy.
All right, I will personally make a visit down this week. Not sure what my schedule is, but I will come down and visit you if that's all right.
That would be great.
But again, according to, as you could imagine, the fine print of the law, he does have the right to fence in his property line. So, but I will come down and visit with you sometime this week.
Bob, it says in this conservation restriction deed that the purpose is to retain its natural condition, scenic and open condition for conservation purposes.
Okay, now where are you? What part?
I'm on the
What
first
page?
page.
Second page.
Is it the second page?
Second page, it's the third or fourth paragraph down.
Yeah, I mean, if it's on the conservation restricted area, it's not meeting the deed. It's not meeting this conservation restriction to have a 6-foot wood fence. I don't think.
All right, I will read through this again. So,
I mean, I don't want to be, this conservation restriction was a great deal of effort was put into this when these lots were sold, and there was an intent here, and I do not want to ignore the intent of what is here, because it'll just start to unravel piece by piece by piece.
all right.
If I recall, Bob, the way that paragraph is written, that comes from the state law itself. The intent of conservation restrictions. That's
Okay.
not something that people agreed upon locally to put inside the document.
All right. You're the deed guy, so you know more about it than I do. So, all right.
Hey, Bob, can I ask a question of Rich?
Sure.
Where's the septic system on here? Just to.
It's in the front, David.
It is in the front. Okay. Now, on one of your plans, you have the extensive amount of landscaping along the north side of the property in the 100-foot conservation area. Do we have street drainage in here that pops out of the ground?
Sorry, say that again. Oh, along the northerly boundary line?
Right. You got quite a bit of landscaping you plan to do and planting trees and other nice things.
There's a riprap. There is a drainage swale right there it's going to remain right in place. They're actually going to clean it because currently it's full of leaves and debris and everything else that's been piled up for 20+ years. So they're going to clean out that drainage swale, and then where they're planting those trees, that's actually going to be above it, above where the swale itself is. So won't be affecting that at all.
So you'll be improving trying to improve the water quality coming off the street?
That's what that was there for. That was, Dave, that's what that drainage swale was originally put in the original subdivision plans in '96. And over the years, it's just been cluttered up with all types of stuff. So they're gonna clean that out, which will be good. It should be noted, I mean, it's working as it is. It's all sandy gravel down there. Nothing, it doesn't hold water. As fast as it comes down off the street, it's percolating into the ground. But it still wouldn't hurt to be cleaned up.
Okay.
Do you want to speak?
So I guess where to.
Sure. All right, Sal would like to, he wants to figure out where we are in this.
All right.
So I think there's just a couple of issues in regards to the fence. When we first moved in about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, our neighbors allowed a huge cut-in onto their property, allowing other people to access our property, which at the time, we didn't know it was our property until we did a survey. During that time, everyone was aware it was our property. And they allowed immediate neighbors of ours to park a boat onto our property, okay? In the hopes that maybe we wouldn't find out. And this is really the main issue here is for me, it's about, and I had my real estate attorney involved, and, he strongly advised that this fence be placed to protect my property, protect my family, and protect my medical practice. So I have my attorney involved. I'm allowing them access until they can move everything onto their property. But no property owner should go through what we went through since the summertime. And I can respect what Joe wants, but there's a lot behind this, and it doesn't just involve Joe. It involves other people as well. So that's related to the fence. It's important that I protect everything, and line has to be placed, because I think Joe's not aware of things that went on between when he decided to move his dock to his sliver and, when we asked them to move it. So that's really the importance of the fence to me is just as important as the pool, is we have to delineate our property line. We have to protect ourselves. So as far as the pool, is there anything specific you wanted us to do to make it compliant? Because that's the most important thing for me is compliance.
Okay, I'm looking on the plan down towards the waterfront. So Joe's boardwalk and dock are actually on your property then, is that correct?
Correct. They were, and when
not the dock.
Yeah, when I reached out to them, I think it was in January, I didn't want any, my wife and I didn't want any adversity. We just want to be good neighbors. We approached them about doing a license agreement, and I asked Joe about it, and Joe was like, I don't really want to, I'm going to have my other neighbor who was out on the dock who bought a boat. He's like, I'm going to have him handle this. So then I went to him, and it, there was delay, and then they finally came back to me asking about moving the property line, not spending a lot of money to do that, but moving the property line. We just moved in, and we didn't want to do that. It didn't make sense, but we still wanted to allow access. They moved, and what the only thing I needed was liability waiver and a license agreement to allow them to pass. I needed liability protection before they'd had any activity on my property. And they placed the boat on they placed the dock on my property and on his property, but they still had to access my property. And I insisted that we have some kind of liability protection and legal waiver. and that hasn't been done yet. We're working on it, but in the meantime, I was told that I should have sold it for $1 because that's what it was worth. Not specifically Joe, but that's what I was told. I was also told by my attorney that there was a strong possibility they were going after adverse possession. Russian and I are all about being neighborly, but this is also about protecting my property, protecting my family, protecting my practice. So there's more details to this that I'm not even sure Joe knows about, but it's much more complicated than that. But there's more details. I know Joe is not aware of them, but as far as the pool,
We'll have to work.
I wasn't sure. I know Jane had, and thank you, Jane, for coming to the house. Is there anything specific? Yeah, I know Jane mentioned maybe potentially forgetting about the edge, I guess where do we stand? I guess.
Jane, you want to comment?
I don't know what you mean by edge.
Did you like?
No, you're not the edge of the pool, the edge of the lawn.
The edge of the lawn.
Oh, you're talking about the ridge.
Yeah, I'm talking about in exchange for, yeah.
Yeah, see, if you look at a watershed area, you usually connect the dots along the ridge line.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's on the other side of that little hillside of yours goes towards the water, and the stuff that is on your side of the crest of the ridge goes towards your swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the, watersheds and such, it might not be a bad idea for you to go and put pervious pavers. But if the intent of this restriction is to prevent further encroachment towards the reservoir with buildings and swimming pools and intending to preserve the water quality, then I think you can do that easily by just extending your lawn up to the crest of the ridge. And I personally think that if you wanted to put a swimming pool in an area that's currently a manicured lawn, that is not the intent of, I would not think that was the intent of this restriction.
So I'll
all right.
She wants me to do.
So we just kind of go through what needs to be. I understand exactly what you're saying, Jane. We can do that. We can hold that top contour and extend the lawn going along the top contour, extend the lawn northerly to the property line, which will certainly reduce that area. As far as the pool, if the pavers, we know are going to go to an impervious paver. We're in agreement on that. As far as the pool, are we all right with the pool? Does it need to be, do we need to try to reconfigure it to move it as much as possible out of the 100-foot conservation restriction area?
You asking me?
I'm asking,
Judy's the one. Judy, were you there?
I'm asking the
Already.
commission, but Judy, I do have, before that answers, with regards to the fence, I disagree that 40 feet of a 6-foot fence is putting a major burden on that 50-foot conservation restriction area, especially when we're already agreeing to restore 382 feet of grass to natural vegetation that our client inherited. I think that's a fair thing to swap one for another. There are other issues going on, as Sal did explain. There's 90 feet to the reservoir for animals to move. There's 6 inches we're keeping this fence up. I mean, I think that's a good give and take, that at least the fence in that area should be able to stay as we show it in this plan.
Well, I guess my perspective on that, it wasn't really the perspective of, the way you're designing it, it's wildlife will be able to get around it or under it. But I think having a fence, he's trying to create a barrier so he could use a different type of fence that wouldn't be so obstructive of views and openness. I think that changing the type of fence is something that should be considered.
Yeah.
Like a chain link fence that's black that fits in a little better to the landscape. It's just that stockade 6-foot fence for 40 feet. That I think that would be
I'm
terrible.
looking into that. Yeah.
Okay, Judy, as you said that, I was talking with Sal. So what we'll propose then is we'll stop the 6-foot wood fence at the 50-foot conservation restriction area, and then extend using the same post with wire mesh fence that we set the detail of. We'll pick that. We'll grab that there.
Or
we'll
a chain link, as you
or
alluded,
chain link.
you
Well,
know.
you're gonna have 4 different types of
Yeah,
fences.
right.
So we'll leave it open that way. Then
Yeah.
we'll switch the fencing.
Okay, and
All
that
right.
And I've agreed to meet with Joe. I sent him an email yesterday, you know, to discuss it. Because, you know, we definitely want to be respectful of their, you know, of what, you know, of what they want. You know, I have to make sure I protect, you know, my family, my property, my practice. But we, you know, definitely want to listen to what Joe has to say too.
yeah, and that's good because I can envision it in my head and I wouldn't be happy either.
Also,
Listen,
I'd like
hey,
to go
Rich,
back.
Rich.
I'd like to go back a couple minutes and point out the educational value of this discussion. If you consider the history at this site, we were initially informed that 2 abutting properties were cutting a lot of trees. And the trees, luckily, it was pretty much stopped before it got to this property. But I think that the bottom line and that the learned lesson here is that there is a conservation restriction on that 50-foot stretch in particular, because buffer zones have been proven to protect water quality and all these other wonderful things. I've got a book this thick on it. So maintaining the vegetated buffer is critical, not cutting any more of that buffer, letting the shrubs and such grow back, and being a good, you know, taking good care of your property by perhaps removing invasive vines if they are in fact invasive. But it does go back to that initial discovery of trees being removed from that 50-foot. Absolute no touch.
All right. Rich, you're going to do a little reworking with this. Shall we continue it?
No, we absolutely continue. But can I just? Yes, we do want to continue. We're all set with the fence. We're all set with the landscaping. I just got to get clarity on this pool. Are we? And there seems to be people. What is it? Are we changing anything, the natural vegetative state, because of the existing lawn? Or am I having, even though it's not a natural vegetated state any longer, we're not trying to protect that, are we trying to reconfigure this so that not more than 200 square feet of the pool is within the 100-foot conservation restriction area? I just need an answer on this so we can proceed forward with the plans.
I would like to see I don't think it's possible to take all of the, 50% of the pool out of the restriction area, but if you could reconfigure a little bit, bring part of it out of it, and we'll compromise on that with the pervious pavers.
I mean, Bob, I mean, it's, to me, that says that it can't, nothing, 200 square feet is what that says.
That's very specific.
Right.
Yeah, but
all right, we're gonna go by that guidance, and we'll go by.
Is the guidance going to change it for you? I'm just curious.
No. We'll go with that reconfiguring so that not more than 200 square feet of the pool is in the 100-foot conservation restriction area. We'll make the other changes to the plan, but yeah, we definitely need to continue the meeting.
Yeah. Our next meeting is next Monday. Would you have it ready by then, or would you want it until the following?
No, because we'll be working with Ivy Studios and also with drawing a blank on the pool company.
All right.
Environmental pool.
So
Yeah.
we have a decent amount of work to do, as well as redoing the grading and stuff like that. So.
All right. Diana, when is our next meeting after the?
After February 1st, we will not be meeting again until March 8th because the 15th is President's Day.
I mean, I can see if they can solve.
All right.
Well, we would have to have the revised plans to you by Monday for the February 1st. Is that correct?
Well, no, February 1st is next Monday, isn't
No,
it?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, I'd have to have the plans to you by Monday, February 1st for the February 8th meeting, correct?
No, the
No.
meeting's February 1st.
The meetings.
Next, we have 2 meetings in a row.
Oh, back to back?
Because
Back to back.
we had to compromise with the Board of Health, so we had to give them some Mondays in February so that they could have a meeting. So
Well,
They work quick.
we could try.
Diana, here's an interesting thought.
now that we're on
Since
Zoom,
now
I
that
have
we
no
are
idea.
doing a Zoom, we could probably not have 2 in a row.
I don't know, because I don't know if the Board of Health does theirs on Zoom and
Oh, good
how
point.
many
They can
things the cable people can do at the same time.
Yeah, never mind. Good point.
All right, so I'll put us on for Monday, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if we can get it done.
Okay.
Bob?
Yeah.
Just a question, clarify, do they come to agreement not expanding the lawn? Or it got a little confusing.
No, we're going to, there is going to be a lawn expansion, but it's going to stop. There's a little hill up there. It's going to go along the top of the slope. So there won't be anything done down slope. It's a 284 contour. We're going to grab that contour and basically extend it easterly towards the street, northerly to the property line will be the majority of the expansion.
Okay.
But the fence, the proposed fence and everything else will remain along that 50-foot conservation restriction area.
All right.
I think, Bob,
Yeah.
on this plan, a little, on the big plan off to the side, they should show what they plan to do landscaping wise for the drainage. Because the drainage part going towards the reservoir doesn't show up here. And they have a separate plan, but I think you should have this on the big plan on the side.
Well, those are the landscaping plans are done by Ivy Studio, and that's their landscaping plans.
There is a drainage plan.
And it's showing the drainage, and it's showing the drainage on that.
Yeah,
the sheet number
on
is
the big plan.
1.1.
Well, David, again, we're working together with the landscape architects of this. That was their deal. We've got notes all over our plan referring back to their plans. So, I mean, it's there. It's in their plan set.
All right.
Plus, we got to redo that hill anyway, so they're going to have to redo that grading anyway.
Okay. We'll just make them attached, Dave. Joe, just out of curiosity, how long have you lived there? Oops. Am I off? Nope.
No, you're on.
Okay.
He's muted again, so yes,
Okay.
unmute.
All right. Joe?
He's off. He's on.
Joe, are you on? Okay.
Frozen
Just all right. Never mind. I'll see you later this week. Anything else?
So Bob, I sent you my cell phone. You'll contact me?
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah.
Send it to Jane because all communication goes through the office. So can you do that?
I sure will. And Sal and I have already kind of connected a little bit, trying to figure out a time for him to come over and
And we're frozen.
Okay.
Yeah. I just want to thank everyone for taking the time and spending the time on this. So, to commit, was it Monday? A Monday night. So I appreciate it. I really do. Thanks. Thank you for everything. And we'll work on it. We'll definitely work on it.
Okay, good.
And Bob, I'd like the opportunity to, if you're around, let me know. I can email you my cell phone number as well. I know we briefly talked on Saturday, but yeah, I'd like to be happy to meet you as well.
Again, send it to Jane so that we keep all communication going through the same channel.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody want to make a motion to continue?
I'll make a motion to continue 14 Alice Bradley Lane.
Second.
Meeting.
Second.
February 1st. Since we're all on Zoom, all votes need to be roll call.
Okay. Dave?
Yes.
Peter?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Jeff?
Yep.
Judy?
Yes.
Okay. None in the negative. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well.
Thank you.
All right, we have a continuation for South Street. Mr. Lucas, are you there? You are.
I am. Good evening.
Good evening. I thought we were having fun.
Sounds like a tough one.
Always interesting. So what's the latest update now, please?
Thank you. For the record, my name is Chris Lucas, professional wetland scientist, certified wetland scientist, soil scientist. We submitted a revised package to the board to address the comments from the last hearing. It included a plan of land provided by a professional land surveyor. It included a letter from the same company, Colonial Engineering, which basically was the short summary of how they determined the lot configuration and the history of the lot. And we also provided the full title examination documents that the board asked for. I received an email from Ms. Pierce today with some additional comments, which I'm happy to go through if you'd like. And in that email, I also included proof of recording. Mr. Innes had the plan of land recorded at the Registry of Deeds last week. That plan included in your packet shows the lot configurations for lot 18 and the other lot, the Rena Child's lot, stamped by a professional land surveyor. So that should address your concerns. That was the lot configuration that Spink used and stamped as the engineer of record. So that plan should be confirmation and sufficient for the board to have satisfaction that we are using the appropriate lots and we don't need to come for an A&R plan. According to the letter, that lot was, the Innes lot was created by the planning board on February 5th, 1959. So happy to go through the comments from Ms. Pierce today that came in. And if you'd like, otherwise I'll open up to the board for questions.
All right, thank you. Jane?
You're on. You got to unmute yourself, Jane.
No, I didn't know they expected me to
Okay.
talk.
Okay.
A lot of the information, I was just pulling this up. A lot of the information has been assumed because we don't have any actual calculations for what the inner and outer riparian areas are or the total riverfront area for the site. There were some things that were supposed to be corrected. Sounds like someone needs to mute their background. Someone has a TV on, perhaps. So, Chris, I don't have my list in front of me, but basically, I've been going from the notice of intent to the things that were represented during the meetings to supplement 1, 2, 3, and all these numbers are getting to me. I feel like I'm in second grade again doing my addition.
Yeah, I thought we were all set at the last hearing because we did inquire if there were any other issues. We verified, unfortunately, Mr. Spink can't be here tonight. He's traveling today down to North Carolina. And apparently there was a significant accident on the highway, so he's still on the road. He was hoping to be at his destination by now. I did call him earlier after I got this, right before I sent this over, to confirm a few things. All the calculations you have are correct that was submitted, the previous supplement, including the plan that we have on record. The only discrepancy we have is the total riverfront on the lot. So your area calculations are correct, which are required to be on the order of conditions form. The only discrepancy is he calculated the total based on the wading river line on the plan and not the BF1 line. So he's showing more riverfront on the property than actually exists. However, the performance standard for a single family home doesn't get into the specific alteration numbers. It's about citing it, which we believe we've adequately documented to the commission. So you do have all the correct calculations. You had sent us a spreadsheet prior to the last hearing, which appears to have all the correct numbers, which I included in my response to you back the day of the last hearing. So you should have everything. And at the last hearing, I understood from the commission that you had everything you needed other than this plan of record proving we have the correct lot lines.
There were still a couple of outstanding issues that were supposed to be submitted to us by Mr. Spink. And if you look at your 12, let's see, hold on. If you look at the 1/6/21 email, I had asked you about these things, and you wrote that Mr. Spink will provide the calculations for the riverfront area. I think there was something else too.
And we did
and additional disturbances for utilities.
Unfortunately, we thought the commission was all set based on the discussion at the hearing, so we don't have the disturbance for the utilities right now. We can provide those.
You had said that he would bring them to the meeting, but he apparently did not.
Like I said, we were hoping to have him tonight. Unfortunately, he's not able to attend, so we don't have the information. Like I said, he got tied up on the road traveling, trying to avoid airline travel. All the calculations you have are correct. We have not quantified the utility impact in the roadway, and we have not provided the overall riverfront. Like we said, it's a minor discrepancy, but it's not required on the order of conditions form.
Well, my previous calculations, unfortunately, were not completely accurate because I was calculating the riverfront area, inner and outer riparian area, to total 47,200, which is the total lot size. So, like I said, this has been wearing at me. Basically, the proposed alterations, total disturbed areas, including mitigation, would be 37% of the riverfront area.
So, Ms. Pierce, I provided on January 11th, I responded to you with the calculations. I broke down the inner riparian and outer riparian by driveway, house, and lawn. I provided.
Well, that was by alterations, but we don't know how large the actual size of the inner and outer riparian areas are.
You don't. However, under the performance standard, under the Rivers Act for a single family home, it's not required.
Well,
those numbers are required for a different standard.
It is required.
And it's not required on the Wetland Protection Act order of conditions form either. I'm happy to provide them to you, but again, Mr. Innes is hoping to close the hearing. In good faith, we're providing all the remaining information. I specifically asked at the last hearing if the board had anything else that they wanted us to provide, and there was. I understood from the commission that we were satisfied here.
All right, then, if the commission wants to look at page 2 of the report I just sent out to you for potential findings under the regulations that have been cited by Chris, Mr. Lucas, then that will tell you if these things were actually addressed and what should be done if they were not.
Jane, what utilities are you referring to?
I don't know. This is something that Chris had mentioned, utilities. Let me see.
Ms. Pierce, you brought the question to us, asking us about it.
About utilities?
You asked about the utility impact in the street, and you asked us to quantify that even though it wasn't on our lot. That was my understanding of your question to us.
No, alterations along the right-of-way, the street's right-of-way is what I was mentioning, because you're proposing to alter land that is actually the town's, but it is still within the riverfront area.
Right, so that would be the street right of way is not on our property, so we didn't quantify it. We can provide that if the commission wants, but again, I don't see any
I've
reason.
been working a lot on this, Chris, and I've been asking you questions as they come along. So let's see, from JP to CL, which calculations include the right-of-way portion of the property? And you wrote, Mr. Spink will need to calculate any additional disturbance for the utilities. I assume on the right-of-way, but I don't know what that meant.
Yes, it was in response to your question about the utilities in the right of way.
No, I didn't ask about utilities. I asked about the right-of-way that's owned by the town. There's a difference.
Right, the utilities are a large portion of the driveway, and the utilities are the portion that will be disturbed in the right of way to access the site, which is common with any lot development.
Yes, but you are proposing to alter all of that, and it is part of the riverfront area. I didn't mention utilities at all. Over this over
I'm a little
and
bit
over
lost
and
on
over.
that, quite frankly.
What's that?
I say I'm a little bit lost on the utilities bit. I mean,
Well, I am too, but that's what he responded in his email, so I don't know what it meant.
Mr. Chairman, may I share a screen? I'll show you what I was referring to.
sure.
Okay, thank you. If I misspoke in my email, I apologize. I believe we understood that you were looking for the disturbance outside so this is the lot property.
Right.
You wanted us to quantify the disturbance to put the utilities in the drive. Correct.
The landscape, it says landscape. The landscape alterations are still part of that riverfront area, and it should still be quantified in square footage.
Right, you're looking for the quantification of any work in the right of way associated with this, correct?
Right. I'm very literal, so whatever you write, I take literally.
Okay, well, that's what I want to clarify. We have not quantified this. We thought we were all set at the last hearing. We've provided every bit of information this board has asked. If I had known this was still an outstanding item, we would have provided it prior to tonight's hearing. This only came to our attention this afternoon, and unfortunately, like I said, Mr. Spink's not available, or I would have had a number for you tonight. I don't know if the board can close the hearing and we can provide it. You have a hearing next week. We'd be happy to provide that info by then for you. Again, it's not on our lot, so it's in the right of way. I'm not sure how this commission typically handles quantification of right of way work for lot development.
I don't think we usually consider right of ways.
But if it's a proposed alteration, it should be part of the discussion, shouldn't it? Because it's still part of the riverfront area, and there are certain provideds.
But are we talking about a lot though? We're not talking about outside the lot, are we?
No, he's included different calculations. And it's
Okay.
not clear which is which, and that's what I asked him about.
Chris, I mean, just let us know what is the square footage you think would be impacted?
I'm not sure.
I mean, it's got to be a small number.
Yeah.
Talking,
It's
maybe 1,000 square feet. I don't know. I'd have to. Might be able to scale that off right now and give you a rough number.
Thank you.
That's the plan.
Jim, you received the information that I just sent out, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Because those are the cheat sheets. You guys can do what you want with them.
This is what was sent at like 6:57, right?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
What is 6:57?
It was sent around that time, right?
The one that I sent last minute. Yes.
Just I wanted to know what
Because I have revised some of the riverfront calculations going back and forth.
okay, Jane. I don't have it because you know me. I wasn't on my computer today, so.
Okay, I'm printing it out for you right now.
Okay.
You won't get the
Conser-
colors, but you'll have the document.
So
Is that correct?
conservatively,
Yeah.
looking at this area, I just did a rectangle from this limit of work straight down here, which is overly conservative. That's 1,800 square feet at the maximum, which is likely less because that would exclude this piece here. So if this is all being altered for this, you're looking at roughly 1,800 square feet.
All right. I think that's good enough for me with respect to that number.
Hold on.
There should be 2 copies.
It-
All right, Jim, what was the latest? I was just went to pick out the 7 pages, so
I think Chris just came back with a conservative number of about
Okay.
1,800 square.
all right.
Mind you, this is off the property. I understand what Jane's saying, but it's, it's part of the right of way. It's
Yeah,
not part of the law.
it's not part of the lot. So how do you figure that in as part of the calculations? Yeah,
You do.
what's that?
I don't think you do.
I don't see how it could be considered part of the lot, even though it's being done. It's town property, and I don't.
It's part of the cumulative alterations that are being proposed.
But it's not on his lot.
Still
It's
proposing to do the work within the riverfront area. That's why this gets goofy.
I think it's unfortunately getting a little goofier than it needs to.
So just, I mean, what do you mean it's not on the lot? I'm not sure what that means.
What's that, Jeff?
What do you mean it's not on the lot?
Okay, it's on town property. It's not part of his property.
Well, I mean, is it a right of
but
way, or is it a right of way, or is it on the does the town own it?
The town owns it. It's the layout of the street. The street is actually, say, 20 feet wide, but it's a 40-foot layout. So it's got about 10 feet of town property that he has to alter to get to his property. So
I mean, don't we normally own to the middle of the street?
no, this is a county layout from
Okay.
1928.
Okay.
So no, it's county land.
Okay.
So I don't know if that should come into the calculations or not. I'm not a legal expert on it, but if it's muddy in the waters, I'd say leave it out. That's my opinion. And I'm only one vote.
Jim, what have you seen with other orders? We've seen it, typically it's excluded from the calculations for the lot, but it could be shown in a fact of finding just so it's on the record.
That's fine.
We'd be fine with that.
I agree with that. I think that's appropriate.
So at least it's in the record.
Yep.
Peter, any comments?
So, yeah, this feels like a chicken and egg kind of situation. If you have a lot you need to build on it and it's bordering on the road, then there has to be some consideration that, that's going to be there and that work is going to get done like you're talking about. I appreciate what Jane's saying, given that it's proximity to the river, it kind of falls into this weird area, but this whole property kind of falls under the grandfather of, preceding Protection Act. So I guess I'm not as concerned about what's on the street as opposed to what's adjacent to the river. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think
David?
what Jim said is, I'm going to agree with Jim. Note it, but I'm not as worried about what's on the street as I am what's behind the house.
Okay. David?
He's
David, are
muted
you still-
again.
What's that?
He's muted again.
Okay. What about Judy? Any
Oh.
comments?
Dave's unmuted now.
Okay. David?
I'm not going to get into discussion along the roadway, but I think there is a need to reduce the lawn size area as an alternative that really wasn't discussed. When you look underneath the alternative test, which the riverfront areas require, that their explanation of that extensive lawn to the north side was for laydown. But if they install the utilities in front of the house, they could do laydown in front right there. They don't need to open up that whole area for laydown. And they could reduce the size of the lawn area to comply with the intent of the Riverfront Act.
Agree.
I mean, we have discussed this, we've talked to Mr. Spink. The concerns were, having a lay down in front is going to limit access in and out. That there isn't a lot of room on the right of way without tearing up more of the riverfront to park vehicles and construction vehicles. Spink has noted that they do need that area for construction laydown. And we've asked the board, with the amount of mitigation we've provided, which is not required, to have some consideration for that to remain lawn when we're done with the mitigation.
I'd like to speak. My name's Dave Innes. I'm the owner.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been building houses for 40 years. I can tell you that area is needed to help construct the house and put materials there. I don't know how many houses Mr. Pakka has built, but I can tell you, I think I built a few more than you have. And I think I know what I'm talking about. So respectfully, we need that area.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the board?
Bob,
Yes, Judy.
I mean, what are we doing? Winding up here for what? Closing
What's
the hearing?
that?
Are we, are we winding towards closing the hearing tonight, or? I mean, I'll just reiterate what I have said at meeting after meeting after meeting, that this house and with the garage is too big. And I am not going to support this. So, and when I mention these comments, it's always rejected. No, we can't do that. No, we can't do that. No, we can't do that. So I'm just one person on the board, but I don't think this project meets the intent of the Rivers Protection Act. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the members of the board? Jane, are we looking for any more input?
It's all up to you guys. You have the information in front of you. I've done the research. I'm bowing out.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to close the hearing?
Make
Do
that
I
motion.
keep it? What's that?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor. And again, it has to be roll call. I'll start with David.
No.
Jeff. You want to close the hearing? The vote is for
Nope.
to close the hearing.
Nope.
Jim?
Yep.
Peter?
Yes.
2-2. Judy?
Yes.
3. I'll make it 4. The hearing is closed. We'll come to some kind of decision ASAP. So, any last minute comments?
Nope.
Jane?
Yes, you should discuss the findings that you want to make based on page 2 of the information I sent to you so that I can draft the order according to your wishes.
Okay, does everybody have page 2? I just got it off the printer, so I haven't looked at it before. But does everybody have a copy of it? Or shall we discuss this next Monday? Don't everybody speak at once?
So, I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be looking at here, page 2.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Same thing. I'm not sure which is the correct page I need to be looking at. From which
Yeah.
I prefer to.
Page 2 of 7, basically, it's the excerpts of the Wetlands Protection Act findings under the different riverfront requirements, asking, do these apply? Yes or no?
Okay, well, that's not on page 2 for me. That's on page, that is on page 6 of 9.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
So am I looking at the wrong thing?
It starts off WPA regulations excerpts for findings. Findings under 310 CMR 10.58 4D3. Do the following apply? Yes,
Yeah.
no.
I have
I
that,
might have sent,
I have that on 5-9.
let me resend whatever it is that I am looking at.
Yeah, that would be good.
I'm sorry, guys. This is
Okay. So,
findings. It should say findings excerpts.
yeah,
All right. Well, I know, Bob, you have it.
yes.
Reply all.
So let's all look at it over the week
Dang computer.
and discuss
good.
it next Monday night at our hearing.
The only problem with that, I'm sending it now.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is that I need to have an order of conditions ready because the meeting after that is going to be several weeks and we have a 21-day requirement to issue the order of conditions.
Mr. Lucas, can we get an extension due to the meeting schedule that we have? Can you,
I'd have to ask Mr. Ines, but it might depend how you vote.
well,
David, they're asking if they can extend it, which would be to what, March 8th?
to have the order of conditions signed, yes.
Sure. Yeah, whatever you need.
Okay, Chris, can you send an email in to Jane for that? So we can discuss this in full next Monday night. And that will give her time to write the order of conditions for you.
Okay.
It's going to be an interesting meeting next Monday night, but that's the way it goes.
Do your homework, kids.
Okay.
Okay.
What else do we have? Any other questions, comments?
You should have received it now, so just let me know if you didn't.
Yep.
I sent you the wrong thing. I apologize.
Yeah.
Haste makes waste.
I just received 2 Word documents from you.
2?
There it is. Yep.
Oh, they're the same things for the most part, just ordered a little differently.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Would it be possible for Mr. Ines and I to get a copy of that and before
You
the
can get portions of it, perhaps. Let's see. I don't see why you couldn't, actually.
Yeah,
It's
public record.
correct? So, okay.
I didn't say anything bad, I don't think. You'll see what I've been going through, Chris. I've really tried hard to get this done and work with you guys and get it done quickly. And it's just proven to be
It's
a horror show.
I think it's, as you said, it's a tough nut to crack. It was difficult just putting this together to submit to the board. There's a lot of information, a tightly constrained lot. It's a tough
Well,
one.
I mean, yeah, if you're going by the intent of the law and we have to make findings saying this complies, that doesn't comply, and this is why, it's, yeah, I'll forward it to you right now.
Thank you.
Doesn't fly.
What's that?
Never mind.
Why can't I get, let's see.
That's the unfortunate part of this, Judy. We're all being recorded.
Yeah, I know.
This is not working. Let's see. Huh, I got a weird little sidebar here that's not working for me. Hey. Chris, I will send it to you. I seem to have given my machine a heart attack.
That's fine. If you can get over to me tomorrow, that'll be fine and appreciate it.
I'll do it as soon as I can too.
Thank you.
Then you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay. So we're going to discuss this at the next meeting?
Yes, I want everybody to have all their little yeses and nos filled out.
Their little duckies in order? Yeah,
All their
and then we
duckies.
hand our papers in and then you grade them?
I was like,
Yes,
Bob's gonna
I am.
grade them, yeah.
I tried my best. What can I say? It's hard to understand. I tried to make it easy. It was not easy.
Okay. Everybody got their homework?
Yep.
Good. Thank you.
And so do we have anything else? We got meeting minutes.
I get the 16th of November and the 30th of November.
Thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate
Okay,
it.
guys.
thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
And I'm glad I don't have homework this week.
Hey, I'm going home with 2 fingers.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Jim, you say you have some minutes?
Yeah, we can do the minutes quick.
Okay.
I wasn't present on the 16th, but it appears that everything seems okay. And what's here in the minutes? Anybody have any changes?
No changes.
I didn't look at them yet.
You didn't look at them? Do you want us to wait?
Might not be a bad idea if it's got any contentious issues in it.
Uh,
My notes, Diana doesn't see my notes,
Well, so
and my notes are totally nerdy, so.
All right, you wanna,
I can hold off. We can do that.
okay.
Add it to
next-
February 1st.
Okay. Anything else then?
The
I did look
30th,
at, I
the
did look
30th
at
is really
one.
quick.
November 30th is really short.
Yeah, the 30th is really short.
Is that the one I just sent out today? No?
No, that was the 14th.
No, it basically, it's all like order,
Dennis Road.
certificate of compliances and stuff.
Yeah, COPs.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems with November 30th.
All right.
And
Make a motion? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to make a motion to approve the minutes then, unless you had any changes.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any discussion for November 30th? All in favor?
Aye.
Again,
Roll call.
roll call. Peter,
Aye.
Judy,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we did it. Roll call.
That's it for minutes.
All right, thank you. Anything else? If not, do I hear a motion?
So you don't want to do the December 14th one that Jane just sent? Did
She
anybody
just sent
read
that
it?
through.
Huh?
I didn't have a chance to look at it.
Okay. It looked pretty good, so that I don't think it'll be a problem next time.
Okay.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Here's second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Do I have to
Peter
do a
says
roll
aye.
call?
You can do a roll call.
Roll call done.
Send it.
I don't want to, no, I want to say no. I want to say no. Come on, we keep going.
Yeah,
You're
you can
outvoted.
stay. You
can
can
stay
stay
on.
online.
You can stay on. And I'll,
See ya.
See ya. Good
Good night,
night,
everybody.
all.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.